Hey guys, hi. So this is walk number 3 really, but I'm going to say number 2 on the title. Yeah, I'm going to do it again. So, and once again, like anger over stuff like got me going, which is really good. Being passionate gets you going. That just gets me up and gets me going or whatever. And that's great. Okay, so I'm going to be really careful. And yeah, it gets you past the pain and stuff like that. Only I'm starting this tape a little. Wow, it's really, really bright light. Wow, look at that light. Wow, it's like something out of Lord of the Rings or something like that. It's because it's morning. It's morning, but that's just the way it is. Now I need to avoid the mud because this is where I got stuck in the mud last time. There are my footprints. Why am I going the same way? Why am I doing that? When I went with my husband, I was smart and I didn't go that way. But I'm not paying attention because I'm trying to stay out of pain because it's last time I went with my husband, it was like way later in the day and I was way more weighed up. Oh gosh, I'm in so much more pain right now. I put on a lot of blush to kind of try and cover that up for you guys. I didn't want you guys to get scared because people get scared and they think I'm dying and I'm not dying. I'm not dying, I'm getting a lot better. So anyway, it's so good to see you guys. I hope you guys are doing well. I am obviously doing very, very well because I am walking. Alright, so I wanted to go over a few things. It's so gorgeous out. I'm actually seeing things. This is a whole new world. I see, like this time I wasn't aware. I'm like, oh, I can actually see there's a view here. There's a view. I didn't know that. There's a view. Huh. That's really great. Only there's somebody's house in it, so I can't show it to you. Because I really want it. When I said in my other video, I just posted some videos, and I was just kind of like, license plates. I really, really am aware of people's private rights. I don't want to expose anybody's like privacy. Does that make sense? I really am aware of that. So like that's why I don't show my husband or anything like that. Like just because I decided to go on YouTube does not mean that my husband needs to be on YouTube. Does that make sense? Like he didn't ask for this. That's not his world. Like this is my world. Like I'm not going to put him or his life or anything like that. That is not what he asked for. That was my decision. He loves it and he backs it up and everything like that. And I was thinking like, I was like, oh, I don't know if I should keep going with Twitter. Again, he was like, Twitter is the most important thing. He was like, it is literally the most important thing. Like you need to stay with Twitter. You need to keep going with Twitter. And I was like, oh, okay. He's like, seriously, it is the thing that keeps you going. Like he was like, it is so important. He's like, we have to keep Twitter going. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, we have got to protect that for you. And I was just like, oh, well, okay. And that's what's good about having a partner is that they see it on the outside. Like you're on the inside and I'm on the inside, like going through all the research. I think I just saw a frog. I'm into all the research and it can get overwhelming and daunting and everything like that. And anyway, I'm getting off on things. So what I wanted to say, first of all, some questions from my first tape and walking and why I'm saying I'm walking. I'm realizing all my tapes, I'm like, I'm walking for the first time. I'm walking for the first, and I'm like, I really need to come up with different terms. I need to differentiate like what walking is and crawling is and strolling and all these different things that I'm doing. I need to come up with words with what they're doing. Let me explain to you like why why this finally feels like walking. Like my husband's like, what's a good word for it? Is it hiking? Like what is it? Let me tell you why it feels like I'm walking for the first time, like really actually walking for the first time. Let me explain to you why that is. Like I had a really bad night last night, really, really bad night. And so what happens is I get this thing where I know it's bad because it's right. I don't know how to show you. Like, what do I do? Like, show you that like right there, my mid back, like right there. I don't know how to do that. So, but right there in the midpoint of my spine, and you can actually feel it, this swelling, and I actually feel like, I mean, I don't know how else to use the term, but it feels like my spine's been severed kind of, and just like my legs are cut off for a week, and I know that they won't be supported. Like my legs, I know, like they just lie next to me. Like they're just curled up side and they're next to me and I'm just on my side and my legs are just there and I'm just observing them. Like I'm just observing my legs. And even though we've had the procedures and stuff like that, now they feel better, there's less pain, everything, but I just know they won't be supported. Like they won't move. I can kind of drag them or whatever, like I can get them up, but I just know they'll crumple underneath me. Like I'll literally fold like a little horse, like they'll be like paperweights. Like I'll get up and I'll like, I can do the motion, like I'll actually go like that, like just crumple. And that's what will happen to me, like after a certain number of minutes out here, when you saw me rushing back, I'll actually just collapse, and it'll always be on the right side. Like I'll crumple down to the right. I'll just go crumple down to the right, and then I'll fall down and I'll be like this, and I'll just be walking like this. And I'll start like this, so I'll start going really low, and then I'll start crawling on the ground, and then I'll just go flat on the ground. So that's the way it goes always, and then I hit the ground flat. So what happens is when those legs go or whatever, the reason why it feels like I'm walking for the first time is because like I don't have as much leg strength today or whatever, so I'm not going to be walking as fast, and it's early in the morning. That's probably why. Is because of my dancing before, I've always had a natural center. Like this center of mine is really powerful. Like people are like, wow, she's going really fast. Yeah, I have this like really, really powerful center. Like I'm really able, ooh, I felt that, but like I need to start maybe practicing that or whatever. But this center, when I move it, like I can really drive that center really, really far. And I have a lot of training in moving this center. Lots of training, and that comes from ballroom. All movement comes from the center. All movement comes from your center. That's why Pilates and ballet dancers do things that strengthen your core. But it saddens me because I was really lucky to train with people that narrowed down your training to just this little ball right here, this center. And now they kind of just do training that does your entire core. And it really is, the power is right here, this little ball, and getting it down to about a 2-inch square, maybe even a 1-inch circle. And finding that center and then learning how to harness it and then power it and drive it, and then you can do incredible motion. And the problem is that I have a natural center, which made me a good follow, which really hid a lot of my injuries because I was able to still keep in motion even as I was losing mobility, even as I lost mobility in my legs, even as I lost mobility in my spine. I didn't notice it because I was still able to drive forward in my center. I didn't catch it. And I even was like placing in all these things. And I can see it now. I was doing all this choreography around my immobility. I was like, oh, well, we can't do this. I was doing all these famous new moves, choreographing these new famous moves. And I now know I was choreographing them around my inability to move. And so I was just so good at driving this center. And so last night I was unable to really put any weight on my legs. And my husband knew it. He saw me get up. He's like, need the walker? I was like, yeah, how'd you know? Like, he can just see it when my legs are just like jelly, right? And so I go and I get the walker, and I'm literally on the walker, right? And I put all my weight up on the walker, and with my center, I'm just like push with my center, push. And I have almost no weight on my toes. And I was able to get myself all the way to the restroom with no help from my husband, just pushing with my center and literally almost no weight on my legs. Like I had my toes just like brushing, like my toes were like brushing like this along, they were dragging. My toes were just dragging along the floor like that. They were just dragging. And I was like, wow, my center is really powerful. Wow. And I was just like, push, just using that walker. And I was like, no wonder my doctors didn't think, they didn't know how bad it was, because I'd used the walker to get in. I was just like, shove. And I was so, unwilling to go into a wheelchair or whatever. And so using that power, when you guys saw me walking or when I would do these things, or I was able to pull up with that center. And I found this out when they started doing the procedures. You guys should see this. Like I started doing this when I started walking again, like when I get my right leg done, I would start overshooting, like my right leg. I don't know if you can see this, but I would start to walk, and I'd take a walk with my right foot, and I'd overshoot it. And I'd be like, what the heck? I'd go to walk, and I'd be like this. And I'd be like, why am I walking like that? I'd be like, whoa. And it turned out it's because I was used to walking like this. I'd throw my center. And it turned out I was actually walking like this. Like I was actually throwing myself in order to get my legs to move forward. And I didn't know that. I was actually throwing. So as I got movement back in my legs were overshooting because I had my muscle memorized throwing my body And the same thing, I'd throw it to the right. So every time I'd move, my legs were overshooting. And same thing with the dancing. I couldn't step anymore because my legs were overshooting everywhere from my center shoving me. So when I say things like, oh my gosh, I'm walking for the first time, what I'm saying is like I'm walking without shoving my center. Like I'm walking on my own, like my legs are powering themselves. Like I'm not, if I pull my center back, look at that, my legs can do it if I pull my center back. Like my legs can power themselves. Do you see that? Like I put my center back, they can actually pull, and that's very new. And all the walking you've been seeing, I did another video where I was like, look, I can walk again. I can walk again. I learned I've been crawling, and I do. Normally I'm crawling like this, like I was crawling. And when you're doing that, when you're throwing yourself, you feel like you're moving through, like, you just feel like you have a million tons on you. Like doing all of that just kind of wore me out. I better turn around. Like I just exhausted myself doing all that physical activity, and my right side's starting to go. So anyway, I wanted to kind of explain that, like, I realized like my body mechanics are going to be way different than for anybody else out there. So when I keep saying to you guys like, oh, I'm walking for the first time, oh, I'm walking for the first time, every time I got some kind of motion, some kind of control back to my legs, I was like, oh, I kind of remember this. I kind of remember having my legs back. Oh, the legs are kind of moving on their own again. Oh, this is new. Well, that day on the trail, when I was able to actually move forward, and you saw me go fast. The reason I was going fast is because my legs were on their own again, and my center was able to move freely without actually shoving anything. It didn't have the weight of driving the whole body on it anymore. That's the speed I used to walk before. Like, that's just the normal walking speed I always walked when I was a kid. Like, my parents expected me to go that fast. They were always like, come on, keep moving. And I didn't really notice it because I had a fast center. But you could never put me on skates. Like I used to go friends with, San Diego and Long Beach and everything like that when I was growing up. We used to go on skates. You could never put me rollerblading or skating or anything like that. You could never put me on skates because I would just fly and they couldn't catch me. I would just fly right past them because of the center of mine. I couldn't ever control it. It goes so fast. And so it's really scary when I'm on skates. And so when I finally got this, and after I went walking for the first time, you guys saw me go walking, we tried to take me dancing and I couldn't do it. I couldn't dance because my legs flew so fast because they're finally on their own accord. My center wasn't trying to push anymore and it wasn't trying to drive this body, that my legs were so fast I couldn't handle that and the pain. There was so much movement going on that the pain was so high that I started to pass out. I actually started to get really, really woozy and I couldn't dance anymore, which is just so funny. Like the body mechanics, I'm so much more aware than other people are, I think, because of ballroom dancing and of my body. And I think my doctors like that a lot because I'm much more aware of my body than most people are. I'm able to describe what's going on in it. So I'm sorry for those of you who are like, oh, I'm walking again. And I'm like, oh, I'm walking again. Oh, I'm walking again. It's just every time I get movement back, it feels like I'm walking again. But that day on the trail was the first time, like, I found out I was not powering myself with my setting. I was moving on my own without any, like, really, truly no, kind of, how should I say, fudging it with this center. No using my ballroom training to actually, kind of like override and screw with it, if that makes sense. My legs were actually doing the walking instead of doing some kind of trick, some kind of ballroom trick to kind of throw my body and trick everyone into thinking that I'm able to walk. And I was tricking, let me give you an example. Here's a great example. That very morning, this is a great example. That very morning, that afternoon, I had just tweeted you guys and said, oh my gosh, I carried my computer outside. It was such a big deal. I was like, this is a bigger deal than you know. I had actually been able to carry my computer, my little computer, like not my little computer, my laptop. I was able to carry it outside and sit down with it on the chair. And to me, that was such a big achievement. I normally can't carry that computer more than like half the living room. Like I really can't. My husband has to carry it everywhere. That was my mobility. That was like a big achievement that morning. And so like carrying the computer was like this, like you know, this is my normal walking. Like that was my normal walking this morning, like this kind of like shuffling thing, you know, and you guys saw it like me holding Tazcat, like I could walk, but you know, that's really just moving the center and like pushing it forward and everything like that. And so that morning, my big achievement was, oh yay, like I picked up my computer and I walked it outside and sat on a chair. And then I actually tweeted, I was like, I have to bring it back in. Like I was really worried about bringing it back in. It was such a challenge. I had to sit there and kind of rest and worry about bringing it back in. And the reason I was talking so fast, and the reason I was talking to you guys, and the reason I did this, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that, is that, you know, filming really distracts. It does, the doctors say to do this thing which is called distraction. Like I said on Twitter when I did the filming, I never could have walked without you guys. You know, the pain that day was so incredible. The makeup really covers it up. Like when I walked with my husband, the pain was so much less. Like that first day was so bad, but the pain was so much less the next time I walked. I was like, this is incredible. And now it's a bit up today, but that first day was really the big challenge, and I couldn't have done it without you guys, because talking to you and doing this kind of video thing, it puts my mind with you guys, and I'm not thinking about the pain. Distraction is a really, really big part of pain, but it also makes you like dissociate from yourself. And as I'm getting better, that's a big problem. Like as I'm coming back into my own, I'm trying to kind of less dissociate and come back into who I was. And that's my biggest challenge, I would say right now, as I like coming back from the book, is trying to take all the parts that I've dissociated and come back into myself and get back into my body and kind of face the pain. That's really, really hard. Oh God. So this is how you know I'm in pain. This is when I start walking like this. Can you see this? Like I start walking like this. Isn't that sad? Like I just start doing that. That's how you know, like my butt. I start walking like a Texas Ranger. Yeah. I'm like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And my arms start going like that. Yep. That's how you know. So I just start looking like I've been hung up like a rag doll, right? So that's how you know it's bad. So, but you can also see, like, I'm almost hung up on this, like a rack, onto this center point of mine. And I'm kind of just, the whole body's being pushed forward by this center. Can't you see that? Like that's what's driving the body. So the body shouldn't be moving. Honestly, the body's kind of done. And this center point is actually just powering it home. Isn't that great? So that's really what saved my life in a lot of ways. Like we noticed, like I was able to get on the floor in January, and I'm telling you right now, like just we got on the floor and we wrapped me up. We did 3 huge wraps around my center. I didn't have the muscle strength for it. This whole year has just been about developing core strength. I still remember, I wrote about it on Twitter. I'm sorry for you guys who haven't been on Twitter. I try to say like, we are on Twitter. And I know it's hard to stay because I write so quickly, but I try to do what I can. All right, I'm talking so fast. So like, here's one thing I want to say that I apparently was confusing last time because I talk so fast and I skip thoughts, is that the deplorable choir. Okay, so they were a big reason that I walked that day. Like I was trying to figure out like what got me out here walking, like what even got me there, like what happened from me being there, like just carrying the computer that morning, like inching out, like being like, I actually carried a computer outside. I did it. I carried a computer, to walking on this Underground Railroad path. And it doesn't go very long, the Underground Railroad portion of it. The railroad trail keeps going, but the Underground Railroad portion of it is very small. The Underground Railroad then skips off and goes somewhere else. But the thing is that I was trying to figure out like what got my body out here and even thinking of getting on this trail and thinking of filming. And what had happened is that morning, like the deplorable choir came up onto my feed. And I was like, what's this video? And I tweeted about that morning, and I had some comments to say about it. I was like, I really want to love this video. And I had made some comments about it. And then I saw another video, and I was like, oh, this is exactly what I was talking about. Like I already did it in this video. This is an amazing video right here. And I was like, is this what it's like watching me? Like, this is amazing. Like private land and happy people, and they're actually happy. And I was like, this makes me feel so much better. And I was like, I just don't see that online on social media. And it was just such a thing to my brain. And it kind of like did this weird thing to the neurons in my head to see happy citizens who weren't paid, who weren't being given lines. I could just tell that they were not paid. They didn't have a Hollywood set. They were just in their backyard. They were just laughing. They didn't try to fake anything. They didn't try, and they were saying, you know, you can be whoever you are and protect the First Amendment and, you know, freedom. And it was just really weird to see people that happy online and not trying to sell you anything. And it really just did something to my brain to see that and see yourself kind of mirrored in a way. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, whoa. And then I was like, okay, I really need to go upstairs. I really need to go upstairs and do my stretching, because that's my big job. Like, my trainer over in Hollywood, she was like, your big job now is to stretch. I was like, what can I do every day after this big procedure on the psoas? Because let me tell you, I don't know if I've been through it with you guys, but that procedure on the psoas, like, they go through, like, there's your spine. I thought it was just like dot dot on your spine. That's what I thought I was going in through. That's why I was still wrapped up. I thought it was just like dot dot right here. No. It was like your chest on down to your thing. And so, oh my God, I'm going to have to go through that with you guys, what that was like. Oh my God, like, oh my God, we had to pull over so many times. Oh my God, that was, then I felt like James Bond. I was like, oh, that's pain. Hey. So afterwards, like, but it's worth it. Look at me, like, I'm walking, like, that's the procedure that really did it. And my doctor even said that. She patted me and she's like, this is the one we've been working for. And I was like, what? Like, it is? Like, oh, I just thought this was a little too. And then it ended up being 12 needles. And I was like, oh, that's why we're doing this whole 9 yards. Okay, I didn't know that. So, and basically it's the spine all along the right psoas. So isn't this so pretty? This is the land behind my house. It's so gorgeous. I am so lucky. Anyway, I didn't even know it was back here. I wish I did. And it's all nice and flat. Gosh darn it, if I could have walked when I first got here, that would have been so great. Okay, anyway, so basically what I was saying about these girls is, I was watching these videos and I was like, okay, my trainer said the one thing your job is to do is to go stretch. She was like, you need to go stretch after this procedure. If you could just stretch for 5 minutes a day, that would be really, really great, right? And I was like, okay. So I was like, maybe if I listen to these girls' music, I'll go stretch. And so I got up to the stretch machine because the pain was so bad. Like, the pain was just, I was just like, and so I like crawled up there. No, that's right. I put on the James Bond theme. I put on the 007 theme and I was like, da-da-da-da-da, like trying to get up there. It's hysterical. So I got up there and then it came up, one of the girls, her thing came up and she was walking in the woods. I don't know where she was. But she was doing like one of like my videos, like where I talk to people, but she was like talking to the video, but she was doing it walking in the woods. And just that morning I had been over like walking Lila and Tiberius, and I had seen this path, been like, oh, like there's an actual path. I'm used to seeing like the big trucks go through that are cleaning it out for like when it snows and stuff like that. And I was just like, oh, like what is this, like what is, like that's a path you can like, that looks like you could maybe walk down there or something like that. And so they were, and then I saw the girl doing the walking, and she was just like going, and I was like, whoa. And she really, really went off. She was like, I don't think so. Like, and it was just, and I remember just being like, wow. And I was just wondering if that kicked my brain, because I couldn't stretch after that. I just sat there and I kept watching it over and over again. And I think it just like did something, like rewired my brain. I had just seen their video where they were like, be free, First Amendment, whatever, Zuckerberg, you know, whatever. And it was like, I think it did something in my brain, and my legs just like went and took the pain. And instead of doing the stretch machine, I think it just like took me out. And it was like, you're going to the Underground Railroad. And I was like, what are we doing? And I was really scared. I stood up because it's a big hill I have to go down. That's why it's dangerous. Like, it's a really dangerous climb to do it. Like, it's not safe. Like, it's not. And I was like, what are we doing? And it was just like, and then it got there, and then my legs just went, and I was like, what are we doing? And that's why I was saying on the tape, I was just like, is that what did it? Was it the girls that did it? Like, is this deplorable? I'm starting to have an episode. Okay, I need to go grab something. I did too much. Okay, see, this is good for you guys to see. Okay, so I'm gonna need to rest a little bit. Okay, so, oh God. Okay, so this is this is what happens. Like there's a time limit, and so the episodes, so you can see the right side is starting to shake, right? Now I'm not dying, this is not dying, so I'm going to be able to get back up. And the good news is with all the procedures is that the pain is better, like the pain's a lot better, right? And I'm going to start losing my voice in a little bit. But it's good for you guys to see, like it's good for you guys to see that this is bad. Somebody was like, you have to let them see you bad. And I'm just like, oh, it's so hard to let them see you bad. And stuff like that. I did have some videos that I just lost it backing up my thing. So, but I know you guys will get plenty of things. So see, it just happens, and it happens on my right side, and I just start going, right? Can you see that a little bit? So I just start going like that, right? And then it just gets worse, and it's better since the procedure, right? And then it just gets worse, and I have to go down, and so then I just kind of lay like this. And then I just go flat, and then it likes to calm down, and then everything's so much better. Oh my God, life is so much better when I hit the ground flat. And then I lay like this for a few hours, and you see my legs back there? They're just dead, just turned off. Can't really move them. Won't really work. Isn't that special? That's just the way it goes. But I love that I can finally walk. Remember in that thing I said I'm starting to do more and more in those in-between moments? So now my challenge is to turn this little camera off. And, alright, get back up the hill. My husband will be home lunch soon. I love you guys. I will be just fine. Don't you worry, because I'm really good at crawling. You want to know how good at crawling I am? Look at this. Like, I have no shame. Do you know that? Like, this is how brave you have to be. Like, this is how brave. You want to know how I got to walking again? Like, you have to 007 this shit. Excuse my language. But, like, you really cannot, like, you cannot, we're Americans, man. We have freedom. Like, you cannot be like pussies about this. I'm sorry, but you just can't, not in this life. Like, you think I got my house on accident? Like, you think I got my land on accident? Like, no. Like, you cannot, I'm so excited, but I'm realizing like my right leg is moving a little bit. My left leg isn't, and that's good. That means I'm getting movement. So what I'm doing is I'm grabbing the grass, and I'm pulling. Okay. Now, for the record, I would just like to say that my husband is amazing. I would not have done this. I probably would have died if it weren't for my husband. So, all of my doctors love my husband. They think he's absolutely incredible. He's installed so much software on my phone in order to ask for help, which I probably should go do right now. I am really bad about asking for help. But my husband is a freaking angel, and all my Hollywood people, they're so grateful for him. So there are such guys like Aragorn out there. There are, just Hollywood doesn't want you to know that so that you don't act like Aragorn, right? So it's so pretty out here. I wish there were some little, birdies out there that can come and fly me up there. Oh good, it's resting. Okay. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and crawl myself on back up. I will be just fine. So, but the nice thing is that in the past, before these procedures, the pain would have been so bad that I wouldn't be able to talk. That's the gorgeous thing. So now that I'm flat on my ground, I'm much better. So I'm going to keep on moving so that nothing can crawl up my butt. All right. Oh, shit. I'm going to get, oh gosh, they're going to block my thing because I'm cussing. But I got to tell you guys, this is why it sucks that things like churches and stuff say that you can't cuss. You've got to be able to cuss to be able to get through crap like this. Life is hard. Or you've got to be kidding me. You cannot get through stuff like this if you can't cuss. You've got to be kissing, you got to be freaking straight. And now I have a spider web on top of me. How did a spider web get on top of my head that fast? They're like, okay, you're part of the woods now. All right, I love you guys. I'll talk to you later. I'll get back on up. Don't you worry. You know what? I'll press pause to show you I'm going to get back on up. Here we go, so that you don't freak out. Here we go. Just a minute. I did it. I got back up. Okay, see? So you can do it, okay? You can get your legs back. Get your legs back, you can walk and you can dance again. It just hurts a little bit, okay? That's all. I'm okay. Just no one puts this on camera. The sustainable development doesn't want you to see pain or hurt or anything like that. I'm learning that people don't get procedures because they're not willing to go through pain. You got to be willing to go through pain in life. You have to be willing to go through pain. Because look at the films of 1940 and the stuff they went through. And their boss, and they ended up owning a crap ton of land. So China's willing to go through pain. So you gotta be willing to go through pain. And you gotta be willing to go through it. So that's what got me through. That's the only reason I'm walking, is because I willing to feel pain. That's it. That's it. I'm willing to do what it takes. And my husband is willing to let me stand and fall and love me through it all and not leave. Okay, I really should probably go. I'll hold on to do a pause so you can see I get to the house safely. Just a moment, but I did not get to this land at all without suffering, being able to handle some rough crap. Does that make sense? Just a moment. All right, we're back. So, all right, and that is walk number 3 for me. And that was morning, my first morning walk. And that is why it's so much shorter, because it's a morning walk. I don't do as well in the morning. Never do as well in the morning. And you guys have been asking for what I look like bad, so now you have a video of me bad. You get what you asked for. So that's why I don't show you. And that is actually me improved. That is, my highs have got much higher, and my lows have gone much higher as well. My lowers are so much better than they were. So I'm very, very grateful for my doctors, my Dr. V, and for my pelvic pain. So I just want to tell you guys, like, stick through it. For those of you guys scared of procedures, like, they do have a payoff, and physical therapy has a huge payoff. And learning your bodies and putting your hands on your body, like, I have to constantly put my hands on my body to learn what's going on with it. Like, my entire internal system is having to learn how to process food again. Like, my muscles don't know how to process food anymore. Things like that. It just doesn't know how to do it anymore. It has no idea. The muscles there are so used to being tense, they have to learn how to do it again. So all these things are new and happening. The pain is different. I don't know how to treat the pain. I don't know what to take for what pain anymore. My head is crazy. It's all changing. But the only thing that I really hate is that my leg, like the cats can't touch my legs. Like, it's hard to wear pants. It hurts so much. Still, I wear things around my waist, things like that. So they brush up against my legs, and I get so angry at them. I just hate that. So it's still a process. I have a long way to go. But guys, do you remember the beginning of my channel? Like, do you remember the beginning of my channel? You have no idea what it was like that back then. And I just want to say, for those of you who thought I was trapped when I said I don't want to go back to that house that I was trapped in, that's because I was like this. My legs didn't move. Do you remember me down on the grass and my legs didn't move? Like that was me at the house. Like, my poor husband, he so wanted to help me, but the air hurt outside. I couldn't go outside because the air hurt so bad. The wind hurt my legs. The wind hurt my skin. It just made me scream. And so I had to stay in the house. That wasn't his fault. That wasn't his fault. And that meant he had to stay indoors too. Like, it just trapped him too. The poor man. Like, he has been so gracious to me, you guys. Like, he's such a blessing. He's such an angel. And I'm sorry that you guys don't get to see him, but it's not fair to him. It's not fair to him. In life on YouTube, I go outside, and you guys don't understand how much YouTube makes you kind of. You guys don't understand how far YouTube goes. It really does go far. You have to give up all your privacy. He of all people deserves his privacy. He's such an amazing. He's such an amazing. I'm so lucky to have him. I just had already had the accident. Like, I already had my second accident when I married him. And I remember when it said in sickness and health, I remember just feeling this, like, gut in my tummy when it said in health, like a real fear. And he still married me. I didn't know what was coming, but I had already just the second accident had just been so bad it like snapped my spine right in the middle there, right behind my center. And I couldn't dance anymore for a while. And he still married me. And that's just, when he goes away on work trips, I don't feel like filming or anything. I just don't light up. And when he's not around, he just there are some people who like Eric, they say make you light up, and he just makes me light up. Like my friends make me light up. And I'm very lucky. I guess you guys haven't watched the Good Guys video in a while. So I have a video called Good Guys versus Bad Boys. And so I feel very lucky to have him. So, I mean, he's a bad boy. He was like, I remember they had like a quiz back then, and like, what's your favorite car? And I was like, what car do you want? And I was like, a pink Volkswagen. And he was just like a tank. And I was like, that's not a car. And I was kind of like, what the heck? And then I learned that boys are just made different. Like somebody sent around some article, and I was just like, oh, they're made differently. And I was just like, oh, and I'm so glad I read that article because I was a teacher and raised by my mom, and I probably would have married him if I hadn't read that article. Actually, I know I would have married him. I would have been scared. Thank goodness, because he's been amazing. Anyway, I'm going on and on. And honestly, like oh gosh, the cats adore him. Like you guys have no idea. Like I can't pet the cats half the time, and he just like, oh, he just love, blah, 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 and they're just blah, 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 and stuff like that. So we're just really, really, really lucky. Just very, very lucky. My friends love him, and his friends miss him back in California. We just have, it's just, anyway. Thank you guys for all of your support and getting me here and getting my legs back. And I know I have a long way to go, obviously. Obviously, we don't know what this is. Maybe it's just development, except that there really is like a time limit on it. And it seems to be morning versus afternoon, and that time limit doesn't seem to be changing. So I don't know what the difference is. I don't know what's happening, but the movement in between is getting a lot better, isn't it? So anyway, thanks guys for sticking around with me. I hope you can handle the roughness of it or whatever. But I want to say one last thing, like really be aware that we're free. Like I'm not in China and I'm not in Saudi Arabia, and I can wear my hair however I want to, and I can say whatever I want to. I have the right to it, and I have the right to disagree with people. And that's one thing I really want to say. Like, I really want to say that when people say, like, oh, it's okay to say, like when I said about the deplorable choir, I didn't like that name or whatever. It's not that you can name yourself whatever you want, but I was like, name yourself who you are. They're not deplorable. The girls just aren't deplorable, aren't they? I don't think they are at all. They got me to walk. And so I don't like calling them that name because they got me to walk. I'm really grateful for them. So in my head, they're not deplorable at all. In my head, they shine so brightly. You know what I mean? So in my head, they're like ladies of liberty or something like that, because they set me free. They kind of drove my legs out the door. So they're so different in my head. Does that make sense? And this nation allows people to be free. And allows people to dissent and disagree from one another. And I think that's a good thing. And that's one way we differ from the rest of the world. And so when we get into things like Party of Trump and stuff like that, and I just caution you, the other side really, really wants Trumpers to say, like, pro Trump and go USA and not the other side, or anti Democrats or anti GOP establishment. And I just really want to say the one thing they don't want us to say is that you can be whoever you are in America. They don't want us to say that I'm okay with whoever you are. I'm okay with whatever opinion you have. You can be whoever you want to be here. You can be whoever you want to be. That's liberty. That's who we are. We're freedom. We're freedom. And when it comes to mass shootings, justice. I'd rather do a bigger penalty on the people who do that That's what I'd rather do. Instead of raising taxes and taking away rights, I'd rather do a big old penalty. Like, let's just raise the penalties on the people who do that sort of thing. Let's have greater justice. Let's put huger penalties. Let's do bigger justice. Let's put the punishment on the people who actually do the crime. Let's not punish people who didn't do anything. So anyway, I love you guys so much. Lipstick again. All right. Bye. Oh, right. bookofkatherine.com. And I'm on Twitter at Book of Katherine. Just found out today that Mitch McConnell was actually a Democrat. And apparently he switched when Reagan got really big. He fought for, he actually was pro-abortion and pro-union, actually did lawyering for that, and then just switched over. And actually, that's right, co-sponsored a bill with Dianne Feinstein to actually remove the human rights section of the 1974 China Trade Agreement in order to do the World Trade Organization thing. So China actually had more human rights before the World Trade Agreement, and then in order to sign the World Trade Agreement, they actually wrote up a bill that said, let's remove the human rights requirement in order to do a trade with China. So they knew. They actually knew. They actually knew. So what day is today? I don't know what today is. I think it's September 2nd. You can look that up on my Twitter feed, Twitter Advanced Search. It's always an interesting day. Every day is an interesting day on my Twitter feed. Oh. All right. I love you guys so much. If you could please donate down below, because that pays for this. Like all these to get me to walk up that or crawl up that hill or whatever. Now you see what you're donating for to make that stop. Whatever the hell that is. If you could please donate to make that stop, I would really appreciate it. So, link is down below. Mwah. Love you. Bye. Okay, now I have to stop it. I have to get my finger on that button after an episode.